Let's talk about the pigments that I use when I'm painting in gouache on cardboard. I want to point out first something fun is that the word gouache comes from the Italian word guazzo, which literally translates to puddle. I like to keep that in mind when I'm painting gouache on cardboard because it just helps me loosen up and to remember that these are puddles of color. The water needs to do what it does, which is pool around and drip and be playful. So to me, this is a playful medium. It's about having fun. So let's talk about the pigments here. What I like to start with is a neutral primary set. This could be a variety of pigments. And by pigment, I mean color. So let's go with Venetian red as a muted red. I'm not taking a red that's strong yet. I'm just taking a muted red. And Venetian red's a good start. Other reds will do that are more towards the center of the color wheel. But these aren't colors that are on the outside of the color wheel. The muted yellow, easy. Yellow ochre, a common pigment, fun to use. It can mix a green, but it's not going to mix a strong green. And ivory black for the cool. The ivory black is a cool black. When mixed with blue and put onto the cardboard, the brown base of the cardboard, it will even appear a bit blue. Of course, it won't appear so blue when you mix actual blue pigment with white and put it up against that. It'll look much more gray, but standing alone, it'll appear as blue. I also like having on my palette a cool gray and, well, more of like a cool brown and a warm brown. So I have here a natural gray. I think I got it on sale. I'm not specific about the colors I use, just as long as I have a certain spectrum in mind. So that's a cool gray. And here's a warm gray or a warm brown, Van Dyke brown. It's handy to use. I might not even use them in this, but I like to have them on hand. It's a warm and a cool, essentially. Then I jump into my stronger primaries. We went through just now the muted primaries, so now I have the stronger primaries. So I have a cadmium red gouache pigment, and this again is towards the outside of the color wheel. And I have an ultramarine blue pigment. You can use cobalt blue as well. I would try to stay towards ultramarine blue or cobalt blue. You could go towards Prussian or phthalo, but it takes a bit more practice to handle those really strong blues. Ultramarine blue is a safe blue, as is cobalt. And then a cadmium yellow. Again, a really strong yellow, pretty much as strong as you can get outside of the color wheel, on the edge of the color wheel. And so you can push those greens if you want, or any of the strong yellows. Say there's flowers in your paintings. These three primaries should be able to handle most of what you throw at the image.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but Emily here, and I want to tell you about a super cool offer that I have for you from Craftsy. If you don't know what Craftsy is, it is an online community with resource of millions of creative and like-minded makers where members can find endless inspiration, advance the skills you already have, or discover a new favorite hobby or craft that you've always wanted to try. Craftsy offers more than 2,000 exciting classes in over 20 popular categories, everything from sewing and crochet to baking and painting. The classes are broken down into easy-to-follow lessons and are led by friendly, award-winning instructors like me who share creativity, wisdom, and provide step-by-step tutorials. I loved Ashley Huff's sewing class on how to sew super cute skirts. I'm not much of a garment sewer myself, but she had so many approachable tips and tricks on how to make this pattern so easy with her instruction. And I also loved Brenda KB Anderson's crochet class on how to crochet rainbow home decor because let's be honest, who doesn't love a giant rainbow pillow? She also had some amazing tips on how to turn your work when making curves in crochet. I got so inspired by Heather Thomas's class on creative finishing and edging for her quilt, and she reminded me just how awesome and fun it can be to embellish the finished edges of your quilt. She also taught me a new method for how to make the corners of my quilts even more precise. And a huge thank you to Craftsy for sponsoring today's video. The cool thing is though, as a Craftsy member, you will also have access to live stream tutorials where experts answer questions, share tips, and engage with the Craftsy community in real time, which I absolutely love. So the first 1,000 people to click on the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership for Craftsy for only $1.49. So click the link below and let's get creative together.
For whites, I have a variety of whites here. The most common white in gouache painting is titanium white. If you're unsure what white you have in your set of gouache paints, there should be a little label on the back with a number. Titanium is PW6. If you see PW6 in there, that is a titanium white. Titanium white is the most commonly used gouache. I also have a large tube of it here, so I can really go to town with it and not hold back. It's nice to have the large tube. And then I also have zinc white, which is PW4. So keep that in mind. Zinc white does well, the pigment zinc does well when mixed with water, and it's a brighter white than titanium. It keeps brighter. So it's nice to have a bit more of a punch when you need it. And then I also have I always have this on my palette when I'm painting in water-based paints, is my Dr. Martin's bleed-proof white. It is PW4, zinc white, and I'm not exactly sure what the binder is, but it is so bright. It stays brighter than the gouache paints. Gouache darkens as it dries. So that's the thing, that's kind of the learning curve to get used to with gouache. This Dr. P.H. Martin's white stays bright. And it also can mix with any of the paints. It can mix with watercolors as well. And then I do like to have some transparent colors on hand, whatever watercolors you have on hand that are into the primaries and some of the browns. It's nice to have some transparent options. Again, gouache is not transparent. Gouache has calcium carbonate in it. The pigments are ground to a larger size. They're not ground as fine as watercolor. So it's a bulkier paint. It is opaque. Watercolor is transparent, and I like to have a few transparent choices on hand. It could be really anything in the yellows, reds, or blues, but just some transparency. Here I have a transparent ochre, and I can just glaze this over the painting if I need a little more warmth. It just is a wonderful transparent wash. I also have a sepia if I need to just darken things. Throw a transparent wash of brown over. I have some sepia. I generally will put these out on the palette only if I really need them. I don't put them out on the palette at the beginning. What I do at the beginning is I just start with my 3 muted primaries here, the black, the muted red, in this case the English red, and the yellow ochre. These are the 3 that I like to start with, and of course the white as well. If I start here, then I'll start realizing which direction I want to go, and I'll put the other pigments out on the palette as I need them. But to start as simple as possible is the goal here, because you're using a real basic substrate, and it's good to keep the paints at a really basic level. And then before you paint, it's good to know that you don't need to prepare the cardboard in any way. Put the cardboard up on the table or the easel or on the floor and just dive right in. If you feel like perhaps the paint is not flowing as well as you want, you can introduce Oxgal. It increases the flow of the paint, and it slows the dry time just a touch as well. I'm not going to use it in the demo here. I just want to show the real bare bone way of handling gouache, but it's an option, something to keep in mind if you come across a cheap bottle of Oxgal, or if some artist is selling some supplies, then you can have it in mind that Oxgal can be of use with gouache. It can definitely increase the flow. So that covers the pigments that I'll be using to paint on cardboard. Thank you.